My name is Andrea Brenstrom, and today we are going to be discussing job attitudes in regards to antecedents and consequences. So the topics covered are antecedents regarding job satisfaction and consequences resulting from these antecedents. So first, what is attitude? In psychology, attitude is defined as a set of emotion, beliefs, and behaviors towards a particular object, person, thing, or event. So an employee's attitude towards work can be altered based off of the antecedents in the workplace. So what creates workplace antecedents? An antecedent is any kind of influence on an employee regarding their job, which are created by and can be separated into three categories. First, organizational mechanisms, socialization, reward systems, workplace environment, and biases. So for example, for a negative example, if you are an extrovert and your workplace environment has very little socialization, so if you are working a desk job in a cubicle, you are obviously not going to have your needs met, and your attitude towards your job is going to be more negative. And for another example, if there is a reward system in the workplace and it is based on a bias and the only people getting rewarded are those who fit that bias, that would be extremely frustrating as an employee and thus create more negative attitudes. The second category being personal characteristics, including age, stress, or daily attitude, and job level. So if someone has a higher job level than they would like, and it is adding to their daily stress and just creating a more negative and hectic attitude towards their work, not a positive thing. That's a very negative example. And then age, this could be used in many different ways. If someone is younger in a company where the population of employees is older than them by a grand amount, this could obviously cause some tension, maybe less respect, just could be a negative thing, could be a positive thing, depending on the workplace. Social factors, co-worker relationships, participation, and supervisor relationships. So for a positive example, if your coworkers are your best friends and your supervisor is great and communication is very well and you have created friendships with these people, your participation is probably going to be higher and you will be more involved in the work and be more satisfied with your work. And then again, if those relationships are negative, your participation will probably decrease and you will not want to be involved in the organization itself. So these antecedents lead to and are used to predict behaviors. An employee's behavior is based off of their antecedents in the workplace. So when a negative attitude is formed from an antecedent, disruptive actions occur. And when positive actions are formed from antecedents, positive actions occur. So what happens after these antecedents are formed? There's two steps. First, the antecedent is obviously formed and forms attitudes for employees. And then from these attitudes, behaviors are then the consequence of the antecedent and the attitude. So these consequential behaviors include, for a positive consequence from a positive antecedent and attitude, would be an increase in task completion. And a negative consequence from a negative attitude and a negative antecedent would be absenteeism, lateness, and turnover. So not showing up, showing up late, or quitting. Another negative consequence would be counterproductive behaviors such as theft, sabotage, and aggression. So to put it visually, starting all the way at the top left, we have antecedents, which, to refresh, are any kind of influence on an employee regarding their job. And I've listed the three categories from under there. And following the arrow in the middle, These antecedents first create attitudes, which are a set of emotions, beliefs, and behaviors towards a particular object, person, thing, or event, which these attitudes then lead to behaviors, which could be positive or negative. Same thing with attitudes, and the antecedents could be a positive or negative, depending on the person in the workplace, and these all create consequences. So if someone has a positive attitude and exhibits a positive behavior, the consequence would be positive. So the positive being an increase in task performance. If someone has a negative attitude and results in a negative behavior, the consequence would be negative. So they would have withdrawal behavior as an example, such as absenteeism, lateness, or turnover. Or again, if the attitude is negative, the behavior is negative. The consequence will be negative. And for the last example, counterproductive behaviors such as theft, sabotage, and aggression. So hopefully this visually made this make more sense and is more clear. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.